This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, episode number 88 on deck for us tonight. We're trying out some new technology, taking a giant step into spring 2020, if you will. We're trying to put together a little bit of a Zoom meeting and see if we can make that work for what we're doing here tonight. Glad to have you along for the ride. Mike Ferstl going to be joining us here. Jason Oldfield is working from the home office this evening, so we're going to be networking everybody together here, and hopefully this will pay off the way that we want it to. Unless I just lost all of our Zoom meetings. There we go. Hey, look at that. With the looks of things, everything is working the way that it's supposed to. What's going on, Jason?
Hey, Chris, how are you? Good to hear from you again. I can't see you, but that's quite all right. It's good to hear from you. How you been?
We're doing okay. Great ideas at the last minute always pay off. Like you said, no risk, no reward, right?
Exactly. I will say the audio on my side is fantastic. It was kind of cool. I was able to hear the opening, which I usually can't hear, so it's a little bit different. I was concerned that we might get feedback from my microphone or something like that, but so far it seems so good, I guess, at least on my end. That's
good to hear. Good to hear. Mike Ferstall is joining us here this evening as well. Mike, man, how are you?
I'm doing well, Chris. We are more concerned about you than we were us. I hope you're doing a little better than you were last week.
We're chipping away at progress. Everything is doing okay. I got the second round of my vaccine, and it knocked me for a little bit of a loop. We had, I think we were close to 20 staff members out of school today. So that was a little bit challenging, but everybody's working through the process and hopefully getting a little bit closer to back to normal, I guess you could say.
20 staff members were out today?
Right.
Holy cow, that's incredible.
Right. Yep.
Well, I guess
so the issue isn't related to an outbreak or anything like that. It's because of the way that the second doses fell.
Oh,
and the issues with the second doses that we'd run into is we had some folks that planned to have the day off, knowing that they might have issues, and then some folks that were trying to be diligent to what they're doing at the school, tried to press on, and couldn't. So it put us in a little bit of an issue, but we got through it. The kids had good days. We're going to have some Valentine's Day events, socially distanced, masked, and covered, and all the Valentines have been in quarantine at the school, so those are safe and not contaminated or anything anymore, and get as close as we can,
Okay, well, that's good. I thought that from the 20 people who were out today, I thought that we had like a massive outbreak at the school. So, yes, I'm glad to hear that, it was expected. And you're one of the lucky ones at this point. You're vaccinated. So yeah. I realize it doesn't give you complete immunity, but you fought through the little bit of issues that you had. And, now you can go out and, host a Valentine's party or whatever you want to do.
I don't think that we can go out and do anything yet. We'll just take it one step at a time. Melissa goes on Saturday. The kids haven't got any shots or anything, but little by little.
I would say, speaking of going and doing things, I'm sure, Mike, you got to be, really looking forward to the whole pandemic hopefully being done and over with at this point, so that we can actually, or you can actually host some races here come 2021.
Yeah, Jason, it's we're taking it day by day and following along with you guys. I mean, anxiously, it'd be nice to see the borders open, to have you guys up, and but we're also fully prepared now because there's always that thought that the borders will not be open, and we've got guys registered for our Grand Bend race from Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, and I'd like nothing, better to see our American friends be able to join us and participate in our 4-day event in Grand Bend. So,
right.
We'll just play it day by day, and I'm not getting my hopes up. Nothing more than I'd love to see the borders open, but I have this distinct feeling that we may be going through this for a little while longer yet, right?
Yeah, I will say that I was just doing my annual self-assessment for work, and talking about how we expect things to change in 2021. And I can't say about all the border states, but I will say that New York has certainly been one of the slowest to open back up again. And yeah, I mean, my personal opinion is that from a vaccination standpoint, it probably won't be until I'm going to call it late second quarter, early third quarter, that I really expect to, potentially be, let's call it back to normal, if you will, if there is such a thing. Now the race, well, the race at Grand Bend is scheduled for August. Is that right?
Correct. August 19th through the 22nd. So,
right.
We're still 6-7 months out. And, we've got some time. I do know that on the Ontario side today, the provincial government announced that they're putting off their March break to April. So that, there's still this variant, the strain that's come from the UK or South Africa or Brazil. They've identified another one from Brazil. It is playing havoc with the healthcare system, and it's straining all the hospitals, right? So they are trying to make sure that they've got all things in place. And on a positive note, the cases have come down significantly, since they've locked down in Ontario. So they're moving in the right direction.
I was going to ask, I mean, you're probably a lot more in tune with this than I am. I mean, I haven't heard anything about, borders opening and stuff like that. Obviously, at this point, really, you're, kind of in the hospitality business, right? Or at least the entertainment business, if nothing else, with the, Beavers big buck bracket races. And so you're probably paying attention closer to this than I am. But has there been any talk about opening the borders at this point?
Well, I've had a couple discussions with some of our our traveling racers, and we've got a couple in Alberta that we have a fairly large group that heads south every year for the Spring Fling Million. They go to Vegas, they attend all the Division 6 and 7 races, and generally it starts it used to start in Phoenix or Pomona, Phoenix, and then Vegas. But it looks like, the way it's going right now, they've already canceled Phoenix.
Right.
So they can't go there. And the Gators are going to be the very first national event this year. So nobody from this area actually heads down there. But, a lot of guys, generally what they'll do is they'll store their cars and their rigs in Nevada, and they'll leave them there all winter, and then they'll bring them back as the racing season unfolds up north.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, a lot of guys are sitting at home, and they really don't know what to do. We had a couple of guys get down to the Vegas National late last year in the fall, but there were 3 weeks later there was a streetcar nationals, and we have a group that always leaves from Calgary, Edmonton to go down to that, and they were turned around at the border. So
okay.
Yeah, they they saw that the guys were getting down to Vegas, but then 3 weeks later everything changed, and they put a block on that. So in fact, the Canadian government basically canceled all outbound flights to the Caribbean and Mexico. So no Canadians can actually fly into those regions.
Well, I got to book my vacation to the Caribbean or Mexico, so I don't have to deal with any of you Canadians.
Us rowdy characters, right? Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because last year my wife Billy Lieber and his girlfriend Heather all went to the Dominican, and we met some really nice Canadians down in the Dominican, and it seemed like that there was I want to say the resort that we were staying at, that there might have been I think it was maybe a Canadian Tire work get together that was down there, but some really nice people, really great people that were down there. But yeah, overall it's like when you looked at the people that had gone down there, there was probably more Canadians down there than anybody else, honestly.
Yeah, there's quite a group. I mean, the winters up here get somewhat very, I would say very severe. It's extreme. Like today, it's minus 42 outside.
Wow.
With the wind chill. So we've been, and this has been going on since last Friday. And so everyone's bundled up at home, or the few people that do have to go out, and a lot of people working from home. But the few people that are in the service industry or the oil patch, they have to get out there, and they really don't have much choice, right? So
Right.
they've had to generally, and we do this. It happens every year. So right around this time of the year in February, we have a holiday coming up on Monday. It's called Family Day, and now a number of provinces have adopted it. One of them being Ontario. They've adopted that same holiday, and a lot of people get away at this time of the year. They'll go to Mexico. They'll go to Phoenix. They'll head to the Caribbean, and this year none of that's happening.
Yeah. Well, I guess I will say that kind of makes sense. I wasn't aware of that particular holiday, but yeah, that definitely makes sense. I will say for us, I mean, usually this time of year for me, it's like once you get to February 1st, I'm starting to have enough of winter. So yeah, by the time end of February gets around, I'm definitely ready to get the heck out of Western New York and go someplace if I can. But yeah, it totally makes sense from what you're saying. Now, with none of that travel taking place, and now with continually, let's call it what appears to be potential to opening of the borders, you're still moving forward kind of full speed ahead with the Beavers Big Buck races, right? And now you got kind of a big announcement that you made a couple of weeks ago.
Actually, it was last week. Last Wednesday.
Okay.
Last Wednesday, we announced our second race, and it's taking place right here in Alberta. So on June 18th, 19th, and 20th, we are hosting our second of possibly 3 races that we're going to host this year. And it's a door car race, strictly door cars, no dragsters.
Yep.
Left-hand steered roadsters are allowed, so the super gas folks would love it.
Yep.
So we announced a Friday, Saturday, Sunday deal, 32 car shootout on Friday night. I have 2 spots left.
Oh.
After 8 days, 2
Jeez.
spots. And on top of that, we have a box, no box race each day, Saturday and Sunday, for 10 grand. It's 10 grand to win.
Mm-hmm.
And even on the box side. So it's 10 grand to win on the box side, 10 grand to win on the no box side, and the 32 car shootout is also a 10 grand race in a 5-round race. Like I said, we're two spots away from being sold out on that. And just tonight, just before I came on, we gathered up another 6 or 7 racers today, and we're approaching 100 entries already prepaid.
Wow.
And I'm capping this race at 150 entries or race cars, because this tracks, Rimbey, Alberta, is it's called Central Alberta Raceway. It has only been open for 10 years. It's 45 minutes south of Edmonton, and it's south and west. So as you go into the foothills of the Rockies, they opened this track a number of years ago. They had funding from the government to actually put this place together.
Really?
They built an oval first, and then they developed a 8th-mile drag strip, and it has to be the smoothest racing surface that we have in Western Canada for a drag strip.
Well, that's pretty incredible. It's really an incredible story, particularly considering the fact that it seems like that as drag racers, we've probably really come to expect, let's call it all doom and gloom with regards to tracks, right? Around here in the Northeast, well, I mean, actually, I guess the biggest recent one really was Phoenix, that the NHRA track that they've announced that they're going to basically turn that into some type of like hotel resort, I don't know, property or whatever it is. Up here in the Northeast, obviously, Englishtown is no more, and I'm not really sure what the status is with ATCO. You know, Chris, we've probably been told recently by somebody, but the last I knew that, you know, ATCO was, the future of ATCO was tenuous at best. So yeah, to hear a story of a new track opening within the last decade, all right, I realize it wasn't, you know, in the last 6 months, but still, even in the last decade, a new track opening, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've been following along with what's been happening in Phoenix and now Atlanta. Apparently, Atlanta may be going away.
I didn't hear that.
And yeah, apparently, I guess NHRA is looking to sell the property, and they're looking at developing it into housing or whatever. But the reason why NHRA is selling it so that they can do improvements at Gainesville, Indy, and the other track that they own, I believe it was, I can't even remember now. It just escapes me, but they were using it to generate cash flow so that they can do improvements at the other tracks.
Yeah.
And then I've been following along with ATCO too, because I mean, ATCO has always been a great stop on the Division I circuit for a lot of the guys. And yeah, you just hate to hear about those things, but to have this track that we have, and in fact, it is one of several tracks that have recently opened up. There's another track only a couple of hours away to the east on an old airport strip that a racer in Alberta, another racer, he had the foresight he's leased the property for 30 years, and he is still, he has started off a brand new drag strip, created a facility that has started off fairly slow, and now it's gaining some steam, and he's doing quite well. It's called Forsberg, and it's on an old airstrip.
Now I'm looking here. I mean, for those, I'm not extremely familiar with my Canadian geography. I probably know better than most, I guess, in the United States, just because I grew up on the border. So Edmonton is pretty much directly north of Calgary.
Correct.
Pretty
Correct. It's about 3 hours north of Calgary. Yeah.
Is it really that far?
Yeah, it is. It's 300 kilometers from my house to the track. It's 300 kilometers right on the button.
Oh, okay. I would say, yeah, because looking at it, I wouldn't have thought that that it was that far. But, you know, I know that the IHRA, I mean, they had it probably had to be a different track, right? But they had a race in Edmonton, and
Correct.
It was always very successful, I know, from a spectator standpoint. I'm assuming that you're going to get a whole lot of those competitors that used to compete at the IHRA race at the door car race here, right?
In fact, yeah, we have quite a few racers from the Edmonton region that will be attending the race. But we've been able to draw racers from BC, British Columbia, on the other side of the Continental Divide over the Rocky Mountains. So we have. I've raced at Mission in Super Gas for a number of years, and it is approximately 11 or 12 hours towing to the facility, and you got to go over the Rockies, and it's quite a journey. And you know, you've got a lot of these 8% grades, and I mean, anytime you go over the Rockies, you have to be fully prepared that you better have a diesel truck or a diesel pusher of some type to get you up that hill, because and then going down the hill into Vancouver, it's about 45 minutes outside of Vancouver, nestled right beside the Fraser River.
Mm-hmm.
And a beautiful facility. But we've been able to draw from that area, and then from northern BC, we also have racers coming from Saskatchewan and Manitoba. So these are the other on the west or the east side of Alberta. And I mean, to drive from Calgary to the capital of Manitoba is Winnipeg, and you've heard of the Winnipeg Jets, right? I mean, they play in the NHL, right?
Both times.
That's about a 14-15 hour tow. So one of the things about Westerners, they're not hesitant to spend a little bit of windshield time.
Right. It's funny you say that, because I'm sure, I don't know if Jeff Jackson is watching or not. I mean, he's a regular viewer for us, and I would expect he's probably already chimed in. Jeff and I have talked about this in the past, and that I've cried to him about, oh geez, my closest race was Lebanon Valley, was 4 hours away, and he's like, 4 hours? Are you crazy? So yeah, living in the Pacific Northwest like that, you basically don't have a tow. I think if I remember correctly, I think other than he had the one division race that was kind of in his backyard. I don't think it was Seattle, but
Woodburn,
yes.
Yeah.
So other than like that one race, it was like every other race that he had was like 8+ hours. And most of the races that he had were, like 16, 18-hour tows. And it was like, yeah, that's just the way it is. So yeah, and I guess that maybe is just the case with regard from a culture standpoint, that because you're certainly out in the great outdoors a heck of a lot more than we are out here in the Northeast, that you don't mind driving a little bit further to kind of get where you need to go.
Yeah, it was an awakening for me because from where we used to live in Ontario, I mean, we'd go to Gainesville every year, we go to Englishtown, we go to Columbus, we go to Indy, or Sanair. I mean, Sanair was 5 hours from home. Indy was 8. Columbus was 8. Englishtown would be 8. The Keystones and Maple Grove would be 8, right? It seemed that 8 was that magical number. But if I go to Mission, it's 11 or 12 hours. If I go to Seattle, it's 14. If I go to, we used to go to Billings, Montana, it was an 8-hour tow. That was the closest racetrack that we had. And if I went to Vegas, it was a day and a half.
Wow. Right? Oh. Yeah, that is just so far. So I guess what precipitated this particular race coming up? I mean, this kind of came as a surprise to me. It's like, how did this race come to be, if you will?
Well, I talked to the steering committee, and I wanted to do a door car race, strictly door cars, because predominantly, I would say the majority of the cars that we see in Alberta are door cars. I mean, I race with a group called Top Eliminator Edmonton. I have been for years, and the last few years we did not, only because of Tracy's illness. And I would say that 90 to 95% of the cars that actually arrive at the racetrack are door cars. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, let's go after and see if we can create some excitement by creating a door car race only. And at first I thought I was going to do it in Ontario, but unfortunately the way the schedules worked out this year, it was a little tough to do that. And I wanted to make, and I think a lot of the track operators want to see that I get my feet wet first, that I learn to walk before I can run.
Sure.
But an opportunity presented itself. I made a concerted effort to get up to Rimbey last year. I'd never been there, never raced there, only heard good things about the racetrack. So I went up there. I spent the entire day, met the partners that were involved in the business, great people. Very hands-on, and I talked to a lot of the racers there that day, and I would say the majority of the 40-50% I knew already. And I asked, I said, so why are you guys here? What has driven you from all the other racetracks in Alberta to this facility? I mean, Edmonton's just up the road. Well, we love the way the track's laid out. We love the laid-back atmosphere. We love the way they treat us. They treat us with dignity and respect. They have great customer service. We just enjoy coming here. And so when I arrived that day, I asked Mark and Steve, the two partners in the business, I said, how many race cars do you have here today? And they said, well, about 180. This was late September. Our season normally is over by then, because
right. Wow.
We can get snow in September anytime.
Yeah.
And the place was just packed. We had guys there from BC. We had guys there from all over Alberta. A lot of the racers that I used to know when I was president of the Calgary Drag Racing Association years ago, people I hadn't seen in years. And so when I spoke to them, they just really enjoyed. And I was able to, watch the races that day from behind the starting line, the burnout area. Then I went down track and I hung out with a couple of teams and stood by the fence and watch the cars come through the top end. And one of the things that really impressed me was the racing surface. This racing surface has to be the smoothest race surface and the best hooking race surface that I've seen in Western Canada, bar none. And it's a little 8th mile track. They have a very tight pit area to the one side of the track. But they managed to get all the crews in, and there were stackers and toters and, a lot of 28, 30-foot trailers. And everyone seemed to get in there, and they still had room at the end of the track to take in more cars. So when I started to, after I went away and I started thinking about it, I thought, you know what, why don't we create something where we can cap the race, create a supply and demand issue, and let's see what we can do just strictly for door cars. So we already had used the 32 car format, or started with that in Grand Bend. It went to 48.
Right.
And we sold that out. And so we're very close to doing that here. And I just wanted to do something very simple: box and no box. 2 classes, create a good purse, make it very economical for the racers to jump in. So we set the price at $299 for the weekend for 10 grand, cap it at 150 cars, allow buybacks, and we've done just that, and it's been amazing. I mean, I have never talked to more racers like I have in the last week.
So 150 cars, so that's 150 cars, I'm assuming, per box and no box, right?
It's going to be 75 and 75.
So even less. I mean, really think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty darn good. I mean, $300 entry for 10 grand to win and only 75 cars. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and we structured the buybacks, and we've got buybacks in the 32 car shootout. But we're looking to bring in some sponsors, and I've got some people already that are looking to come on board with us. We already had the infrastructure in place with my team. The website was already created. We've got the Stripe system in place where you can jump in and pay by Visa, MasterCard, or Amex. Mm-hmm. We had that in place. We've got all our merchandising in place, except for a couple of things that we want to add. And so far, it's been remarkable how well we've been received. I mean, people were just amazed at how structured and organized and everything was laid out, and they supported us fully. I have to thank them. I really do.
Well, I will say that overall that I know personally that you've put a ton of work into this whole series, and I'm sure that I think you're crazy, quite frankly. Because the amount of work going into trying to do something like this is incredible. But I guess I have a few questions, kind of right off the bat. So let's assume. So right now you had how many spots left in the 32 car shootout? Was it 2? 2.
I've got 2 left.
Okay. So 32 car shootout, 2 spots left. Entry for the 32 car shootout is how much money?
$500.
And all we've talked, I'm assuming, because we're going to be taking place in Canada, in Alberta, that everything is in Canadian funds at this point, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So if you are an American, you're going to go up. You're obviously going to get yourself a little bit of a discount from that standpoint. So how much is it to win the 32 car shootout?
10 grand.
10 grand to win that as well.
Well, it's 10 grand to win, 5 to runner up, and semis is $1,000.
Okay.
And we're going to pay back to the quarters, and everyone's going to get a free entry into my race next year.
That's pretty hard to beat, quite honestly. That being the case, I mean that's a pretty nice little purse from that standpoint.
Well, the other thing that we wanted to do, Jason, was we wanted to create some brand ambassadors for Beavers Big Buck Races, right? So. I want nothing more than to see our racers go away and be stoked about the weekend and say, you know what, that was one of the best weekends we've ever enjoyed, we've ever had for racing in this area. And I've had other tracks already call me and say, hey, listen, we want you to bring your series to our racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already opened that door, right? So,
right.
No, we just want our, we want to treat our racers like they've never been treated before. I mean, our customers should be royalty, right? I mean, in business, when you're in business, and I've been in business for a number of years, and so have you, and at the end of the day that you want nothing more, you get more business from referrals than you do by advertising. I mean,
right.
And this is one of the ways that we can advertise, that we can create a great impression this first time around, run a very tight ship. We have the flyer now. The flyer has been posted just today.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have a schedule up with the rules, and we've already got the format already put to bed in Grand Bend. So we're just going to bring that same format and use that same business model at this race.
Right. So one question I would have to ask, and I have to ask this, being an American. So I live, let's call it, I'm Jeff Jackson, and I live in the Portland or Seattle area, wherever the heck he lives up in the Pacific Northwest there. And I am really interested in attending this race, but I'm not sure what's going to happen with regards to the pandemic, and whether or not I'm going to be able to actually get there or not. So what is the overall policy with regards to me basically getting into the 32 car shootout and prepaying my entry and everything else so that I can get in on this great race if it happens? Well, it's going to happen. But what happens if I can't get there as an American?
Well, if the borders are not open, if you prepaid, my commitment to all of my American friends is that we will refund their money. I mean, okay. No questions asked. I mean, and if I were in the same shoes as, somebody on your side of the border would be, I would ask for no different. I mean, so again, let's do unto others as you'd like to have done unto you. And that's my basic philosophy when it comes to managing racers and managing people. I mean, we want to make sure that they're happy, that they're going to go away and they're going to be pleasantly surprised and overjoyed as to how they're going to be treated. I mean, my team is, I think, and Jason, you've been a part of that group for some time now. I've reached out to you. I really value the integrity of my team and their feedback, because without them, this would never have happened.
Yeah, and I have to say that I literally did not know the specific answer, but at the same point in time, deep down in my heart, I knew what the answer was going to be when I was asking that question. I knew you were going to say that it would be a full refund if you can't make it because the border is closed. And yeah, that's how, I mean, for the Western Super Rod Association, that's how we run our races as well. I mean, we don't have generally an issue with people coming down with the border, but if you come out with us and you break before first round, if you come over to me and tell me that, hey, I broke, as long as I haven't made the ladder up before first round, I'm going to give you your money back. I mean, it's bad enough that you broke, and now you have to fix that issue, right? I'm not trying to add insult to injury for anybody. And like I said, it really is just treating people the way that you would hope that you would be treated if you were in the same situation. So I knew you were going to say that, but it does. I wanted to take the opportunity to ask that question to make sure that it was addressed here. So everyone was like, oh yeah, sure, he's going to take my money and then the border's going to be closed and I'm not going to be able to come up. At this point, there's no risk. If you are in that area, you're thinking about potentially going to this race, basically there's no risk to you. If the border's closed, it's closed. All right, you get your money back. No big deal. I mean, honestly, I'm going to encourage everybody at this point from the American side with two spots left on the 32 car door car shootout and entry into next year's race. I would guess that we're going to fill those 2 spots before the show is over.
Well, I would hope so, yes. And that, I'm actually doing another Facebook Live here after this show tonight to basically introduce the flyer and to talk about some of the rules and let everybody know what's going on. But both you and I are racers. I mean, I've been racing for a long time. You've been racing for a long time. We've all been at those tracks where, we thought we were slighted or treated properly. And one of the things that I've always said is if I said to myself was, if I ever run a drag race or a big buck bracket race of any type, I want to make sure that I treat my clients or my customers exceptionally well, because it's going to pay me back in spades.
Right.
And like I said, if I get a referral from a fellow racer who said, oh, you know what, we attended one of those races and we really had a great time. That in itself is going to do me more in reaching out to other people. And I know that my car count's going to go up next year. I know it for sure. Right.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. It's funny, in my opinion, a big part of this, and it's not just the Beavers big buck races, right? It's the fling races that the Biondos put on. Those are races organized by people who have been racers themselves, and they understand the entire situation that you might go through, not only to get there, but then once you do get there, the problems that you might have. And it amazes me still to this day when I will go over to somebody, if they're broken, I find out they're broken and refund their money, how surprised they are that I would do something like that. Or we split, generally, if there's a split, I will, basically go over and hand deliver money, and people are just shocked. It's like, what? I mean, I only won first round. It's like, I have money coming? It's like, yeah, you have money coming. It's like, that's the way, we try to basically pay it back as far as we possibly can, because understand it's like, it's not cheap to run a race car, and none of us are doing it to make a living by any means, but any amount of money that you can get to kind of help offset that cost really, really helps. And it amazes me every time I go and tell something with regards to money, that I'm not just taking your money and running with it, how people are surprised that oh geez, this is not what I expected. But after you've run with the big organizations for as long as you have, and you're just another number, you kind of come to expect that. So that's why I think series like this have become so successful, and people love to race them.
Yeah, it's for me, it's all about under promising and over delivering.
Yep.
I mean, that's what it boils down to, right? Is making sure that everyone that races with us goes away. And again, I realize that we can't be all things to all people, because there's going to be, why aren't you running this class, or why aren't you running heads up? Or
I'm sure you have dragster guys, right, that are saying, why isn't this a dragster race too, right?
And I said, just bear with me. And I said, that's coming. I mean, we have a couple of other big buck bracket races in the province. One with Top Eliminator that I've run with for years, and their race is only a couple of weeks later. It's and they don't get huge car counts, but they always over deliver, and it's one of the things that those guys do. They've done a nice job with that. And you just, as you go to these different races, you take away all the best practices. You take away all the low-hanging fruits.
Sure.
And you put them away for that day where you may need them, right? And maybe that's a little bit of my corporate background coming into play, but at the end of the day, it's all about your customers. I mean, you've got to treat people right.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Chris, I'm kind of curious. I was sitting here thinking as Mike was talking, we were talking about, how racers are treated. How do they do it in Derby world? Clearly if you're in a Derby, right, if you're broke, you're broke. I suppose if you break before the very first race, I mean, would they typically do anything for you?
It depends. A lot of it depends on where you're at and what the event's all about. You can run into places that are real high end, and if you break off the trailer or something, you might get them to pass the helmet or something. You might get your entry fee back. If you're at a county fair, you're not getting anything. You're getting a thanks for the donation.
Okay.
Dirt track's a little bit different. Demolition Derby, one of the things, is a lot of the times you'll get a hard luck award at the big shows and a special contingency there, and then you'll also get a special contingency for the longest tow to try and incentivize. And it might only be $100, but it's $100.
Sure.
Absolutely. It's better than nothing. So there's other little contingencies and stuff that pop up along those lines. Good promoters go a long way, and we've seen a lot of drivers get into the promoterships on both the derby and the dirt side of things. And my gut wanted to make the statement that those are the guys that do really well but don't stick around, but I started kind of going through the Rolodex of the last few that went from the driver's seat and broke into promoting, and they've been around for a little while now. So I don't know if that's just a misconception or if I was just doom and glooming it like motorsport would have.
I would say, Mike, what is? Do you know what the exchange rate is right now?
It's $1.27 actually. So 127 of our dollars that's what it would cost for $100 for you.
Yeah.
Buy American, right?
Yeah. So you're basically looking. So for a $2.99 entry,
about $200.
Yeah, a little over $200.
Yeah, the same thing on the shootout. If on the 500, it'd be about a little over $400. Right?
Yep. Well, I'm as we're sitting here talking about this, it's like so right now it's like you said you had some American entries, right?
For the Grand Bend race, yes. For the Grand Bend race, not the Rimby race.
Okay, not the Rimby race yet.
Yeah, it's from where the border is to Rimby, you're talking approximately 6 hours. So that's quite a hike. It's a bit of a hike there, right? So
all right, well, you know what? I'm gonna go on record and say right now that I'll put up $100, $100 US. Anybody in the US enters the race and stays entered, I'll put up $100 towards their entry.
Okay.
So we'll call it the Western New York Super Rod Association American entry. Sure, I realize that it's 6 hours, but I mean 6 hours isn't all that bad, really. And so I mean, if you have somebody up in the Pacific Northwest there that's looking to go, I'll help fund their entry fee, and like I said, I'll throw $100 at it.
Well, let's hope that Jeff Jackson is listening, and maybe we'll get Jeff up here.
I've got him in the chat right now. He wanted to know if his headers are bad, would he get a refund from Jason?
No. You have to have your equipment ready to go. But yeah, I mean, at this point, if you enter. So, well, I guess in theory, you could let your entry ride if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, you could.
So if the border's closed for some reason and you let your entry ride till 2022, then my $100 will basically ride till 2022 with you. But like I said, I don't know if you want to call it the long tow award because like I said, I'm going to put it towards an American guy, trying to get an American guy to go up to Canada race with you guys. Yeah, it's take my $100, please.
A minute ago, Jeff was trying to get Mike to let him do an IOU, so this might get him a little step closer.
We'll do something there for you, Jason. Yeah. No, hey, listen, and I was looking forward to seeing you in Grand Bend this year too, right? So
absolutely, yeah. I mean,
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that a miracle happens, that we get these vaccines out there and get people inoculated, so that we can get the borders open. And because right now I've got a couple of guys from Pennsylvania that are entered. I got a group of racers from Ohio, like we're talking 15 plus. That want to come up, good friends with, Matt Dattis years ago, and Matt and his group want to come up. They want to race in Grand Bend. They've raced there before. So, we've got a contingent of American racers entered for Grand Bend, that's for sure. And I'd like nothing better than to be able to host those guys and, at the end of the night, have a beer with them, right? So.
Right. Well, I have to say that I do believe, and maybe it's just I'm not very optimistic. So, but the optimist in me really does believe that by that point in time, that I do believe that the borders will be open and we'll be back to pretty much normal life at that point in time. So I think that's going to be able to happen, quite honestly. We'll see. I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. And like I said, but I am not an optimist by any means. And I do feel like by that point in time, you're going to have enough people that are going to be vaccinated. I will say that I just looked at the COVID statistics today for the United States with regards to new infection rates, and the new infection rate is down significantly. So I'm feeling pretty good about where we're headed overall in the future here. So yeah, I think you're gonna be okay, honestly.
Yeah, we can see the light at the end of the rainbow. I mean, last year in 2020 we didn't have the vaccine, right? So now we have the vaccine, and every day there's another drug company that's being approved for a certain type of drug to be able to inoculate another patient. So and we're moving forward. It's been a bit of a struggle to get all of the vaccine out there, especially in Canada. I mean, our government's been we haven't had any vaccine in the last 2 weeks, and now I heard today that apparently there's supposed to be 2 million doses being made available by the end of March. So that's a good sign. So, it's going to be a slow process, but we're getting there. We're moving in the right direction.
Right. So I guess while we're, kind of talking about this, let's talk about the race at Grand Bend. So we kind of already mentioned, the dates, but let's kind of just recap that particular race, what we got going on there. So that people that potentially aren't aware of that particular race can kind of get informed.
Yeah, so the race is taking place at the Grand Bend Motorplex in Grand Bend, Ontario, which is about an hour north of Windsor. You come up, or you can come across at Port Huron from Michigan. A lot of us that go to Mid-Michigan Motorplex for the 50K World Super Pro Challenge, we cross at that border ourselves. So it's in a beautiful tourist community. It swells from 5,000 people in the wintertime upwards to 60,000 in the summer. It is called the Fun and Sun Capital of Canada. The weather in Grand Bend is exceptional in the summertime. Like everywhere else, they get rain, but we won't talk about that. The race starts. We open the gates on Thursday and it runs till Sunday. The way we have it structured is juniors will run Thursday and Friday. We'll have 2 junior races, and we wanted the juniors there because oftentimes, if mom and dad are coming and they can bring the kids, that's a good thing, right? Or the kids will say, "Hey, Dad, get the car ready, and I'll be able to race, and you'll be able to race. So, and I'll be there to crew for you over, the weekend, right?" Yep. So we have it structured in that format, and I've got one of the junior parents actually working on putting together where we will basically have a prize for every single junior dragster competitor. Something that they can walk away with at the end of the weekend. Whether they won or lost, it doesn't matter. It's all about participating and getting out there and being able to perform at one of these races, right? So I felt that was very important. Mm-hmm. We didn't do that in Rimbey only because of the tightness of the pits.
Sure.
We're working on that for 2022. So juniors Thursday, Friday. On Friday we start with our 7.5K. It's presented by pro1safety.ca. They make all the harnesses. It's Jeff Heffler's business from Texas.
Sure.
They started the business. We have Jerome Billier from Quebec City. He has the rights to sell that product in Canada, and they sell everything from Pro One jackets, pants, to Camlock harnesses, to next gen devices, head restraints, and he has a whole bunch of swag. So one of the things that Jerome is given us is that every best losing package on Friday will win a $50 gift certificate towards his product.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll also have his product for sale on site that day. So we have the 7.5K race is the big race, box, no box. And then we also have stock and super stock. And that'll be taking place on Friday. Friday night, we have the 48-car shootout, which will be a fantastic race under the lights. We're going to start that about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So if we're not finished with the big race, we'll work out. We've got some of the logistics already planned as to how we're going to be able to finish one race and then start the other race.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll run that to conclusion. That 48-car shootout is for some big money. It's $15,000 to win at that race.
That's some big money.
Yeah, and it's sold out in 6 hours. We had that race sold out in 6 hours.
Did you think about expanding that to 64 cars?
Thought about it. I got into a little bit of trouble. It was supposed to be 30. It started at 16 and went to 32, and then went to 48.
Yeah.
But no, I capped it at 48 because I didn't think it would be fair to the
Sure.
the entire group, right?
Yeah.
Because we do have a buyback round in that too. So and I do want to go to bed on Friday nights.
So that's Friday. Now we get into Saturday.
Saturday is our big day. So we have the Richard Ennis Memorial Race. Richard was the racer that was struck and killed at Cayuga last year.
Oh, yeah.
In September. And we've reached out to his family, both to Kerry and the boys, and wanted to make sure that we remembered Richard, and so we're going to have a bit of a ceremony that day. But it's called the Richard Ennis Memorial, and it's a 15K race. So we have box, no box, which also includes sleds and motorcycles, and we have quite a few of those competitors joining us in those categories. Then we also have the second day of stock super stock. So they're running off on their own. It's a stock super stock combo, and I think I mentioned that for Friday too. So that's the first race. And then for Saturday evening we have we also have Top Dragster and Top Sportsman.
Right.
Well, it's a big day. So we're going to take we're going to do qualifying on Saturday for quick 60, like a 16-car field for Top Dragster and a 16-car field for Top Sportsman. And then we have our Racer Appreciation Barbecue on Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll all be able to enjoy that, take that in. And then on Sunday, we have our 10K race. So we're doing a 10K race, box, no box, and then the conclusion of Top Dragster, Top Sportsman.
And if you do you try to qualify for Top Dragster, Top Sportsman, and you don't qualify?
You can slide into the box side.
There you go. So
we're gonna take care of everybody. We want to make sure that everyone has a chance to compete. And I realize it's a qualified field, but if they so desire and they want to do that, they can jump on the box side.
No, I didn't ask for the Rimby race. I guess I'll ask here for Grand Bend. So double entries?
Yes. So
for both?
What we're doing is Grand Bend is double entry, so you can run a car down the racetrack twice.
Okay.
So in one round. So one of the things that we're going to do right off the bat is we're going to call up double entries first, and then they'll have to join the back of the line when they come back after cooling off, right, and jump right back into that round. So we're doing that. In Rimby, one of the things that we're also doing is we're allowing double entries, but a little bit different. So you can jump into box and no box, or you can run one car down the track twice.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to allow that.
Okay.
And then we also have buybacks too, right? So
Right.
and then generally the way we'll handle buybacks is buybacks run buybacks, right? So that's how we're going to handle that, and then we'll just slide right back into the following round.
No, I think that's important to tell people. I mean, yeah, overall, that personally is the way that I like to see it done. Is like I said, buybacks, running buybacks. I've never liked where buybacks just get inserted into second round and you go along from there, because it's like I've always felt like, geez, it's like this guy lost first round, buys back, now he gets thrown into second round, and I end up losing to him. It's like, well, I don't get a second chance, second round to throw more money at it, right? So I like the buyback versus buyback. I think that's the right way to do it, quite frankly.
Yeah, and we I think that was something that we came to the conclusion as the steering committee that we have, right? You know, we've got business people in that group. We've got drag racers like ourselves. We've got non-drag racing people, and I have some good friends on that group. And you know, we all came to the conclusion that if we're going to do the buybacks, yes, that you know, we want to make sure that the buyback racers run each other, right? So
right.
Until we get down, if we have a single, then they may just slide into, you know, they may just have to run one of the next competitors, right?
Yep. So we know that you got a Facebook Live here coming up at 9 o'clock. That's going to be specifically kind of talking about the Rimby race, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So this group is fairly new to you know, they've been exposed to one of my Facebook Lives that I had posted, and we posted it on the Central Alberta Raceway site to answer some of the questions. But since that Facebook Live, we've actually increased the payouts. We initially we were going to pay $7,500 and $5,000. I just decided to make a decision that we were going to increase it to $10,000 right across the board.
Okay. Well, I will say, knowing that you have to prepare or kind of get ready for that, I know coming up here in just about an hour's time, we'll kind of wrap this up. Is there anything else that we didn't cover tonight that you wanted to cover before we let everybody go?
Well, again, just you know, just to the audience, that if they're considering coming, I mean, and if they have any questions, they can contact me anytime. My number and my email address is located on the flyer of www.beaverbigbuckraces.com. They can go right to the site, and they'll see there's an area. It's laid out, racer registration. It has the schedule. It has the rules, and then there's an area there that they can reach out. And if they have any questions, they can contact me anytime. And again, rightly so, if they want to reach me by phone and they're motivated, I'll give you my phone number. It's 403-510-6465. They can call me anytime.
Well, there you go. And I will say there's also the Facebook page too, Beavers Big Buck Races. If you search on that, you'll find the Facebook page as well. And as you were talking here, I was actually thinking to myself, it's like, you need to call my $100, the Tracy Ferstl Memorial American sponsorship or something like that. So we're going to do that in Tracy's memory.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, and I know that she will too, because she wanted to be a big part of this, right? So.
Well, and she definitely will be. She'll be there, certainly in spirit for sure. And I know that she was a big part of this, you know, supporting you and helping you kind of get this going. So, yeah, it's. She'll be missed for sure. It's disappointing that she won't be able to see the very first one, but yeah, we'll at least have $100 sponsorship there in her name to kind of remember her. Chris, anything else before we go?
Nothing much. We've been watching the live chat. It's been busy over there. A lot of folks asking questions about money. Jeff Jackson's wondering if the permafrost is going to be thawed in time to have that race. But other than that, it's a lot of interest generated, a lot of good stuff that we covered tonight. And it looks like we're going to be able to roll things out right on schedule for the Finger Lakes area stuff that they got going on at Finger Lakes 1 here too. They're starting to roll into some of their other sports content and stuff. So this is gonna work out great. We certainly do appreciate Mike coming on and hanging out with us for a little while and sharing some news. That is going to do it for us here. Episode number 88 in the books. We're going to be back here again in a couple of weeks. We'll do it again. We'll flex some muscle on our Zoom skills by then too. We certainly do appreciate it as always. Thanks again, Mike. Thanks again, Jason. We will see everybody next time.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Blake.
Take care. See you, Jace.
This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.